Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Ji Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kum Radha Kum Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Puri Dham Ki Jai. Puri Dham Ki Jai. Avati Dham Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the symbol of the devotees. All glories to the symbol of the devotees. All glories to the symbol of the devotees. Jai Ho
Prathamadev ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai.
I like the brothers speaker.
It's on the Veda base, huh?
Yeah.
It's pretty helpful.
Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Chintamani Bhagavasatma Sukroha Vriksha Lakshami Tishra Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shadasam Brahmasedyamanam Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Evam Panantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham Bharhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Kopi Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Sarva Navamyavam Shri Ratnangatam Kalal Lalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vritti Manti Pashyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sarujvala Vigrahasya Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navaya
Novanam cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhaktao Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Shatavatsara Sampragamyo Vayoratapi Manaso Muni Pungavanam Sopyasti Yat Prapadasim Nivachintya Tattve Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Salvachayatum Jagad Anda Kotim Yatshaktir Asti Jagad Anda Chayayadantaha Andantarasta Padamanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavitati Yo Manujasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahimasanayana Bhushaha Suktayam Eva Nigama Pratithaistu Vanti Govindamadi Purusham Damaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmay Rasa Pratipavitapis Tapi Eva Nijarupataya Kalabahi Goloka Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sataiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundarama Chintya Guna Sarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Shukalani Amina Tishtan Nanavatara Makarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapurmanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Pravavato Jagat Anda Koti Koti Shashesha Vasudhari Vibhuti Bhinam Tad Brahma Nishkalamananta Ashesha Bhutam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Hiyasya Jagat Anda Shatani Sute Trigunya Tad Vishaya Veda Vitaya Mana Sadvavalambi Parasattvam Vishuddha Sattvam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmay Rasatma Tayama Nasuya Praninam Pratipalan Smadatam Upetya Lilai Tena Bhuvanani Jayatya Jasram Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Golokanamni Nijadamni Talecha Tasya Devi Mahesha Haridama Suteshu Teshu Te Te Prabhava Nichaya Vihitascha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shrishti Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shaktir Eka Chayetya Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichhanu Rupam Apiyasya Chacheshta Tesa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Kshiram Yatadadi Vikada Vishesha Yogat Sanjayate Nahitata Pritak Asti Hetaho Yasham Bhutama Pitata Samupaiti Karyad Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Deparcha Eva Hita Shantadam Abhyupetya Depayate Vritahetu Samana Dharma Yastadrik Eva Hichana Vishnu Tayabhibhati Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yakaranana Vajale Vajatisma Yoga Nidramananta Jagat Anda Saroma Gupaha Adhara Shaktim Avalamya Param Swamurtim Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nishvasita Kala Mahavalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagat Anda Nataha Vishnur Mahansa Ihayasya Kala Vishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pasvanya Tashma Shakaleshu Nijeshu Teja Swayam Kiyat Prakatayat Yapi Tadvaratra Pramaya Esya Jagat Andar Vidhana Karta Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Pallava Vinidhaya Kumbha Dvanve Pranama Samaye Sadaganadhi Rajaha Vignan Vihantum Alamasya Jagatrayasya Govindamadi Purusham Damaham Bhajami Agnir Mahi Gaganam Ambu Marudishascha Kalas Datatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Yamcha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yach Chakshur Esha Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rishesha Tejaha Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmo Tapapa Nichayas Tapamsi Brahmadi Kita Patagavatayasta Jivaha Yadatta Matra Vibhava Prakata Prabhava Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yastvindra Gopa Matavindra Mahosva Karma Bandhanu Rupa Palabhajanam Atanoti Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Bhakti Bhajam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayati Piti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhavahi Stanchintya Tasya Sarishim Tanum Aparete Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Padama Purusha Kalpa Tadavo Druma Bhumis Chintamani Ganamayi Tayam Amritam Kathaganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Si Priyasakhi Chidanantam Jyoti Padam Apitad Asvadyam Apicha Sayatra Shirabdi Shravati Saribhibhyascha Sumahan Nimeshardhakyo Bhavrajati Nahi Yatrapi Samayaha Pacheshveta Dvipam Tam Aham Iha Golokam Itiyam Vedantas Te Santashati Viralachara Kati Paye Ishvara Padama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Govinda Govindam Sarvakarana Karanam. Should we read the translations? Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feathers, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with a moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shama Sundar is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning, and the eternal Purusha. Yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayam by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions and years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suttas told by the Vedas, by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities in the company of her confidants, the Sakhis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shama Sundar, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Rama, Nrsimha, Vamana, etc., as his subjective portions. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose effulgence is the source of the non-differentiated Brahman, mentioned in the Upanishads, being differentiated from the infinity of glories of the mundane universe, appears as the indivisible, infinite, limitless truth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is the absolute substantive principle, being the ultimate entity in the form of the support of all existence, whose eternal potency embodies the threefold mundane qualities, viz., sattva, rajas, and tamas, and diffuses the Vedic knowledge regarding the mundane world. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose glory ever triumphantly dominates the mundane world by the activity of his own pastimes, being reflected in the mind of recollecting souls as the transcendental entity of ever blissful cognitive rasa. Lowest of all is located Devidam, the mundane world. Next, above it is Maheshdam, abode of Mahesh. Above Maheshdam is placed Haridam, abode of Hari. And above them all is located Krishna's own realm named Goloka. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who has allotted their respective authorities to the rulers of those graded realms. The external potency, Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda in accordance with those whose will Durga conducts herself. Just as milk is transformed into curd by the action of acids, but yet the effect curd is neither the same as nor different from its cause of milk, so I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state Shambhu is a transformation for the performance of the work of destruction. The light of one candle being communicated to other candles, although it burns separately in them, is the same in its quality. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who exhibits himself equally in the same mobile manner in his various manifestations. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who, assuming his own great subjective form, who bears the name of Shesha, replete with all commutating potency and reposing in the causal ocean with the infinity of the world in the pores of his hair, enjoys creative sleep, yoga nidra. Brahma and other lords of the mundane worlds, appearing from the pores of the hair of Mahavishnu, remain alive as long as the duration of one exhalation of the latter, Mahavishnu. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whose subjective personality Mahavishnu is the portion of a portion. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom the separated subjective portion, Brahma, receives his power for the regulation of the mundane world, just as the sun manifests some portion of his own light in all the effulgent gems that bear the names Surya, Kanta, etc. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesh upon the pair of tumalai protruding from his elephant head, in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all the obstacles on the path of the progress of the three worlds. The three worlds are composed of the 9 elements, viz. Fire, earth, ether, water, air, direction, time, soul, and mind. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom they originate, in whom they exist, and into whom they enter at the time of the universal cataclysm. The sun, who is the king of all the planets, full of infinite effulgence, the image of the good soul, is as the eye of this world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey mounting the wheel of time. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, by whose conferred power are maintained the manifested potencies that are found to exist of all virtues, all vices, the Vedas, the penances, and all jivas, from Brahma to the meanest insect. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who burns up to their roots all fruit of activities of those who are imbued with devotion, and impartially ordains for each the due enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities, of all those who walk in the path of work, in accordance with the chain of their previously performed works, no less in the case of the tiny insect that bears the name of Indragopa than in that of Indra, the king of the Devas. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, the meditators of whom, by meditating upon him under the sway of wrath, amorous passion, natural friendly love, fear, parental affection, delusion, reverence, and willing service, attain to bodily forms befitting the nature of their contemplation. I worship the transcendental seat known as Shvetudvip, where as loving consorts the Lakshmis in their unalloyed spiritual essence practice the amorous service of the Supreme Lord Krishna as their only lover, where every tree is a transcendental purpose tree, where the soil is the purpose gem, all water is nectar, every word is a song, every gait is a dance, the flute is the favorite attendant, effulgence is full of transcendental bliss, and the supreme spiritual entities are all enjoyable and tasty, whereas numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk, where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and without past or future, and hence is not subject to the quality of passing away for the space of half a moment. That realm is known as Goloka, only to very few self-realized souls in this world. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Kardana Kardanam. Welcome, everybody. You want to read where we left off from the CC? Yeah. You took a picture, right? Hear about this prostitute and Hare Das Thakur.
That's right.
This was the Brahma Samhita.
See that. Really the only thing I picked up, and this has kind of been the theme of today, is you said something.
It's like the end, right?
Yeah. No past, there's no future.
Yes, it's the last verse. It says, every step is a dance and every word is a song, because they're just totally in ecstasy. And time, but the one thing I always question, it says and the supreme spiritual entities are all enjoyable and tasty. So everybody in the spiritual world is tasty. That's it? That's it, Prabhu. You want to start?
Yes.
I'm going to be right back. Good. In this way, all moving and non-moving living entities will come into existence, and the entire universe will be filled as it was previously. Purport. While we are preaching, opposing elements sometimes argue, if all living entities were delivered by the Krishna consciousness movement, what would happen then? The universe would be devoid of living entities. In answer to this, we may say that in a prison there are many prisoners, but if one thinks that the prison would be empty if all the prisoners adopted good behavior, he is incorrect. Even if all the prisoners within a jail are freed, other criminals will fill it again. A prison will never be vacant, for there are many prospective criminals who will fill the prison cells. Even if the present criminals are freed from the government, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Karanam guna sangosya sadasadyoni jamnasu. Because of the living entity's association with material nature, he meets with good and evil among various species. There are many unmanifested living entities covered by the mode of ignorance who will gradually come to the mode of passion. Most of them will become criminals because of their fruitive activities and again fill the prisons. Text 81. Previously, when Lord Ramachandra left this world, he took with him all the living entities of Ayodhya. Then he filled Ayodhya again with other living entities. Text 82. My dear Lord, you have set a plan in motion by descending to the material world, but no one can understand how you are acting. Text 83. Formerly, when Lord Krishna descended in Vrindavan, he freed all living entities in the universe from material existence in the same way. Text 84. Krishna, the unborn Supreme Personality of Godhead, master of all masters of mystic power, delivers all living entities, moving and non-moving. Nothing is astonishing in the activities of the Lord. Purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-16. Text 85. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead may be seen, glorified or remembered with an attitude of envy, he nevertheless awards the most confidential liberation, which is rarely achieved by the demigods and demons. What, then, can be said of those who are already engaged in devotional service to the Lord? Purport. This is a quotation from the Vishnu Purana 4:15-17. Text 86. By descending as an incarnation in Navadvip, you, just like Krishna, have already delivered all the living entities of the universe. Text 87. One may say that he understands the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He may know whatever he may know, but as far as I am concerned, this is my conclusion. Text 88. My dear Lord, your pastimes are just like an ocean of nectar. It is not possible for me to conceive how great that ocean is, or even to understand a drop of it. Text 89. Hearing all this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was astonished. These are actually my confidential pastimes, he thought. How could Haridas have understood them? Text 90. Greatly satisfied by the statements of Haridas Thakur, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him. Outwardly, however, he avoided further discussions of these matters.
Text 91. This is a characteristic of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although he wants to cover his opulence, he cannot do so before his devotees. This is well known everywhere. O my Lord, everything within material nature is limited by time, space, and thought. Your characteristics, however, being unequaled and unsurpassed, are always transcendental to such limitations. You sometimes cover such characteristics by your own energy, but nevertheless, your unalloyed devotees are always able to see you under all circumstances. Purport. This is a verse from the Strota Ratna 13 of Yamunacharya. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to his personal devotees and began speaking about Hare Das Thakur's transcendental qualities as if he had hundreds of mouths. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu derives great pleasure from glorifying his devotees, and among the devotees, Hare Das Thakur is the foremost. The transcendental qualities of Hare Das Thakur are innumerable and unfathomable. One may describe a portion of them, but to count them all is impossible. In the Chaitanya Mangala, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has described the attributes of Hare Das Thakur to some extent. Oh, I didn't know that. I haven't heard of either. So that clearly was written before Krishna Das wrote this. Oh, cool. No one can describe all the qualities of Hare Das Thakur. One may say something about them just to purify himself. O devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please hear something about the qualities of Hare Das Thakur that Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has not described in detail.
Mostly only shares things that he didn't say in his book. It's like he already covered it all, and he doesn't want to make a book like this big. Sure. It's also out of respect, like this great Vaishnava already did this, so like he kind of set the standard for that.
So you read the Chaitanya Bhagavat first before Charitamrita, or can you get by with?
Not necessarily. The Chaitanya Charitamrita is really good because the beginning has like a lot of philosophy. The whole like 90% of the first book, the Adi Lila, is all like philosophy, establishing the position of Lord Chaitanya, of the Panchatattva, and his associates, and giving like the background philosophical knowledge, so then you can like approach the pastime properly. But I mean, can't really go wrong anyway.
After leaving his home, Hare Das Thakur stayed for some time in the forest of Binopala. Hare Das Thakur constructed a cottage in a solitary forest. There he planted a tulasi plant, and in front of the tulasi, he would chant the holy name of the Lord 300,000 times daily. He chanted throughout the entire day and night.
You know how many rounds this is?
No.
It's 192 rounds.
192 rounds a day?
Yeah. Look. So how many names are in one mantra?
1728.
No.
Oh, in one mantra, 16.
That's 16 names times 108. If you do it 108 times for one round.
Yeah.
So at 1728, that's one round. And then times, my math is off. How did you get this?
I was thinking the same
16 names
300,000 divided by
is
16.
one mantra times 108 is 1728.
What happened?
My math skills aren't working so Oh no.
I was be willing too, Prabhu.
16 names, okay. 300,000 divided by, 16 names equals 1870 divided by 108.
I don't think that's right. There's a way to... Never mind, I'm not going to talk about it.
300,000 divided by 1728.
Yeah, that might be a good one.
That's how
No,
I got,
you did.
That's how I got to the...
Oh yeah, you did, didn't you?
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, it's a lot of rounds.
A lot of The village of Benapala is situated in the district of Yashahara, Jessore, which is now in Bangladesh. Benapala is near the Bangigayan station, which is at the border of Bangladesh and may be reached by the Eastern Railway from Sealdah station in Calcutta. Haridas Thakur, being the acharya of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, is called Namacharya Haridas Thakur. From his personal example, we can understand the chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and becoming highly elevated in Krishna consciousness is very simple. Without difficulty, one can sit down anywhere, especially on the bank of the Ganges, Yamuna, or any other sacred river. Devise a sitting place or cottage, plant a tulasi tree, and before the tulasi chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra undisturbed. Haridas Thakur used to chant the holy name on his beads 300,000 times daily. Throughout the entire day and night, he would chant the 16 names of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. One should not, however, imitate Haridas Thakur, for no one else can chant the holy name 300,000 times a day. Such chanting is for the Mukta Purusha, or liberated soul. We can follow his example, however, by chanting 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on beads every day, and offering respect to the tulasi plant. This is not at all difficult for anyone. And the process of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra with the vow before the tulasi plant has such great spiritual potency that simply by doing this, one can become spiritually strong. Therefore, we request the members of the Hare Krishna movement to follow Haridas Thakur's example rigidly. Chanting 16 rounds does not take much time, nor is offering respects to the tulasi plant difficult. The process has immense spiritual potency. One should not miss this opportunity.
Wait, so we can do that? We can do that in the day. During the afternoon.
Well, yeah. No, in the morning, Tulsi's just in the temple room for that specific purpose. But it's always auspicious to chant in front of Tulsi. So, like, the sun comes out and we put Tulsi outside, you totally go sit there by Tulsi and chant. Well, since it's warming up, I've been putting her out in the daytime because the sun comes out. In Mayapur, there's Tulsi all over the place. Everywhere. For his bodily maintenance, he would go to a Brahmana's house and beg some food. He was spiritually so influential that all the neighboring people worshipped him. Purport. In the days of Haridas Thakur, all the Brahmanas worshipped Narayan in the form of the Shalagram Shila. You know about a Shalagram Shila? You'll find out sometime. It's the Lord, like incarnated in a certain stone. And there's like a certain place in India where they get these stones. Yeah, I'd have to like show you something and describe it more. But we used to have some on the altar. There's a devotee here, he had some and he put them on the altar, so a lot of temples have them. But it's saying like the Brahmanas, so they would all worship Shalagram Shilas. Therefore, begging from a Brahmana's house meant taking Krishna Prasad, which is transcendental, nirguna. If we take food from the houses of others, such as karmis, we shall have to share the qualities of those from whom we took alms. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took Prasad in the house of the Vaishnavas. This is the general process. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement are advised not to take food from anywhere but a Vaishnava's or a Brahmana's house where deity worship is performed. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Vishaira ana kaile dushta hai mana. If a devotee takes alms or food from the house of a karmi who is simply interested in money, his mind will become unclean. We must always remember that the devotee's life is one of Vairagya Vidya. Vairagya Vidya. Or renunciation in knowledge. Therefore, all devotees are warned not to live unnecessarily luxurious lives at the cost of others. Grihastas living within the jurisdiction of the temple must be especially careful not to imitate karmis by acquiring opulent clothing, food, and conveyances. As far as possible, these should be avoided. A member of the temple, whether grihasta, brahmachari, or sannyasi, must practice a life of renunciation, following in the footsteps of Haridas Thakur and the 6 Goswamis. Otherwise, because Maya is very strong, at any time one may become a victim of Maya and fall down from spiritual life. Text. A landholder named Ramachandra Khan was the zamindar of that district. He was envious of Vaishnavas and was therefore a great atheist. Unable to tolerate such respect was being offered to Haridas Thakur. Ramachandra Khan planned in various ways to dishonor him. By no means could he find any fault in the character of Haridas Thakur. Therefore he called for local prostitutes and began a plan to discredit his holiness. Purport. This is typical of atheistic men, but even among so-called religionists, sadhus, mendicants, sannyasis, and brahmacharis, there are many enemies of the Krishna consciousness movement who always try to find faults in it, not considering that the movement is spreading automatically by the grace of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who wanted it spread all over the world, in every town and village. We are trying to fulfill the Lord's desire, and our attempt has become fairly successful, but the enemies of this movement unnecessarily try to find faults in it, especially like the old rascal Ramachandra Khan, who opposed Haridas Thakur. Text. Ramachandra Khan said to the prostitutes, "There is a mendicant named Haridas Thakur. All of you devise a way to deviate him from his vows of austerity." Purport. Devotional service is the path of Vairagya Vidya, renunciation and knowledge. Haridas Thakur was following this path, but Ramachandra Khan planned to induce him to break his vows. Renunciation means renunciation of sensual pleasure, especially the pleasure of sex. Therefore, a brahmachari, sannyasi, or vanaprastha is strictly prohibited from having relationships with women. Haridas Thakur was strictly renounced, and thus Ramachandra Khan called for prostitutes because prostitutes know how to break a man's vow of celibacy by their feminine influence, and thus pollute a mendicant or a person engaged in devotional life. It was impossible for Ramachandra Khan to induce any other woman to break Haridas Thakur's vow, and therefore he called for prostitutes. Free mingling with women has never been possible in India, but for one who wanted to associate with society girls, they were available in a district of prostitutes. There were prostitutes in human society, even in Lord Krishna's time, for it is said that the prostitutes of Dwarka city came forth to receive the Lord. Although they were prostitutes, they were also devotees of Krishna. Text. Among the prostitutes, one attractive young girl was selected. "I shall attract the mind of Haridas Thakur," she promised, "within 3 days." Ramachandra Khan said to the prostitute, "My constable will go with you, so that as soon as he sees you with Haridas Thakur, immediately he will arrest him and bring both of you to me." The prostitute replied, "First let me have union with him once, then the second time I shall take your constable with me to arrest him." At night, the prostitute, after dressing herself most attractively, went to the cottage of Haridas Thakur with great jubilation. After offering obeisances to the tulsi plant, she went to the door of Haridas Thakur, offered him obeisances, and stood there. Exposing part of her body to his view, she sat down on the threshold of the door and spoke to him in very sweet words. "My dear Thakur," "Oh, great preacher, great devotee, you are so beautifully built and your youth is just beginning. Who is the woman who could control her mind after seeing you? I am eager to be united with you. My mind is greedy for this. If I don't obtain you, I shall not be able to keep my body and soul together." Haridas Thakur replied, I shall accept you without fail, but you will have to wait until I have finished chanting my regular rounds of my beads. Until that time, please sit and listen to the chanting of the holy name. As soon as I am finished, I shall fulfill your desire." Hearing this, the prostitute remained sitting there while Haridas Thakur chanted on his beads until the light of morning appeared. When she saw that it was morning, the prostitute stood up and left. Coming before Ramachandra Khan, she informed him of all the news. "Today Haridas Thakur has promised to enjoy with me. Tomorrow certainly I shall have union with him." The next night, when the prostitute came again, Haridas Thakur gave her many assurances. "Last night you were disappointed. Please excuse my offense. I shall certainly accept you. Please sit down and hear the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra until my regular chanting is finished. Then your desire will surely be fulfilled." After offering her obeisances to the Tulasi plant and Haridas Thakur, she sat down at the door. Hearing Haridas Thakur chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, she also chanted, "O my Lord Hari, O my Lord Hari." I don't want to see what she actually chanted. Hari, Hari. Oh, that was not a good move. Oh. Namaste. No, but it's right around this area. She sat down on the threshold of the room. Thus she began to hear Haridas Thakur chanting, and she also personally chanted Hari, Hari, the holy name of the Lord. Wait, this one's different. Because the other one she said, "Oh Hari, oh Hari." Herein one can clearly see how a Vaishnava delivers a fallen soul by a transcendental trick. The prostitute came to pollute Haridas Thakur, but he took it as his duty to deliver the prostitute. As clearly demonstrated here, the process of deliverance is very simple. With faith and reverence, the prostitute associated with Haridas Thakur, who personally treated her material disease by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Although the prostitute had an ulterior motive, somehow or other she got the association of a Vaishnava and satisfied him by occasionally chanting in imitation, "Oh my Lord Hari, oh my Lord Hari." The conclusion is that associating with a Vaishnava, chanting the holy name of the Lord, and offering obeisances to the Tulasi plant or a Vaishnava all lead one to become a transcendental devotee who is completely cleansed of all material contamination. Text. When the night came to an end, the prostitute was restless. Seeing this, Haridas Thakur spoke to her as follows. "I have vowed to chant 10 million names in a month. I have taken this vow, but now it is nearing its end." Purport. If one regularly chants 333,333 names daily for a month, consisting of 30 days, and then chants 10 more names, he will thus chant 10 million names. In this way, a devotee worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such worship is called yagya. Yagai sankirtan prayer yajanti hi sumedhasaha. Those whose intelligence is brilliant accept this Harinam Yagya, the Yagya of chanting the holy name of the Lord. By performing this Yagya, one satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus attains perfection in spiritual life. According to the external vision, Haridas Thakur belonged to a Muslim family. Nevertheless, because he engaged himself in performing the Yagya of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he became a regularly initiated Brahmana as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33-6. Yanamadhyaya Shravananukirtanad Yad Pravanad Yad Smaranad Api Kuchit Shradopi Sadya Savanaya Kalpate Kuta Punaste Bhagavan Nudarshanat. Even if a devotee comes from a family of dog eaters, if he surrenders to the personality of Godhead, he immediately becomes a qualified Brahmana and is immediately fit to perform yagya, whereas a person born in a family of Brahmanas has to wait until completing the reformatory process before he may be called samskrita, purified. As further said in Srimad Bhagavatam 12:140, Samkrita kriyahina rajasa tamasa vritaha prajaste bhakshayishyanti mlecha rajanya rupinaha. In the age of Kali, mlechas are low-born people who have not undergone the purifying process of samskara, who do not know how to apply that process in actual life, and who are covered by the modes of passion and ignorance, will take the post of administrators. They will devour the citizens with their atheistic activities. A person who is not purified by the prescribed process of samskara is called asamskrita. But if one remains kriyahina, even after being purified by initiation, in other words, if one fails to actually apply the principles of purity in his life, he remains an unpurified mlecha or yavana. On the other hand, we find that Haridas Thakur, although born in a mlecha or yavana family, became Namacharya Haridas Thakur because he performed the Nama Yagya, a minimum of 300,000 times every day. Herein we find that Haridas Thakur strictly followed his regulative principle of chanting 300,000 names. Thus when the prostitute became restless, he informed her that first he had to finish his chanting and then he would be able to satisfy her. Actually, Haridas Thakur chanted the holy name of the Lord for 3 nights continuously and gave the prostitute a chance to hear him. Thus she became purified, as will be seen in the following verses. So it's time to finish, but it's like right in the middle of the whole thing. So what do y'all want to do? Yeah. I thought that today I would be able to finish my performance of yagya, my chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. I tried my best to chant the holy name all night, but I still did not finish. Tomorrow I will surely finish, and my vow will be fulfilled. Then it will be possible for me to enjoy with you in full freedom. Purport. Haridas Thakur never wanted to enjoy the prostitute, but he tricked her to deliver her by giving her a chance to hear the holy name of the Lord while he chanted. Pure devotees chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and simply by hearing this chanting from a purified transcendental person, one is purified of all sinful activities, no matter how low-born or fallen one may be. As soon as one is thus free from the reactions of sinful activities, he is eligible to render devotional service to the Lord. This is the process for engaging the fallen souls in devotional service, as Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7:28, Isham tvanantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dhandva moha nirmukha bhajante mam drita vrittaha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the duality of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Next, the prostitute returned to Ramachandra Khan and informed him of what had happened. The next day she came earlier at the beginning of the evening and stayed with Haridas Thakur. After offering obeisances to the tulasi plant and Haridas Thakur, she sat down on the threshold of the room. Thus she began to hear Haridas Thakur's chanting, and she also personally chanted, Hari, Hari, the holy name of the Lord. Today, it will be possible for me to finish my chanting, Haridas Thakur informed her. Then I shall satisfy all your desires. The night ended while Haridas Thakur was chanting, but by his association the mind of the prostitute had changed. The prostitute, now purified, fell at the lotus feet of Haridas Thakur and confessed that Ramachandra Khan had appointed her to pollute him. Because I have taken the profession of a prostitute, she said, I have performed unlimited sinful acts. My Lord, be merciful to me. Deliver my fallen soul. Haridas Thakur replied, I know everything about the conspiracy of Ramachandra Khan. He is nothing but an ignorant fool. Therefore his activities do not make me feel unhappy. On the very day Ramachandra Khan was planning his intrigue against me, I would have left this place immediately. But because you came to see me, I stayed here for 3 days to deliver you. The prostitute said, kindly act as my spiritual master. Instruct me in my duty, by which I can get relief from material existence. Haridas Thakur replied, immediately go home and distribute to the brahmanas whatever property you have, and come back to this room and stay here forever in Krishna consciousness. Purport. Haridas Thakur's instruction that the prostitute should distribute to the brahmanas all the property she had Very significant. Haridas Thakur never advised the prostitute to give charity to the so-called Daridra Narayanas, poor Narayans, or any other such persons. According to Vedic civilization, charity should be given only to the qualified brahmanas, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 1842. Shamodamastapasho changshantir arjavam eva chalgyanam vigyanam astikyam brahmakarma swabhavajam. The Brahminical qualifications are truthfulness, control of the senses and mind, tolerance, simplicity, knowledge, practical application of transcendental knowledge in one's life, and full faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons engaged in pursuing spiritual understanding have no time to earn their livelihood. They depend completely on the mercy of the Lord, who says in the Bhagavad Gita 9:22 that He personally carries to them all their necessities. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. The Vedic civilization recommends that one give charity to brahmanas and sannyasis, not to the so-called Daridra Narayanas. Narayan cannot be Daridra, nor can Daridra be Narayan, for Daridra means like a poor person. For these are contradictory terms. Atheistic men invent such concoctions and preach them to fools, but charity should actually be given to the brahmanas. I just want to elaborate on this point to make sure you understand. There's people in India who invented this philosophy of saying Daridra Narayan, that like God is in everybody, so let's go help the poor people because they're poor Narayans. And Prabhupada's making the point that you don't just go serve the homeless and poor people, you serve God. Because Narayan's never poor. So then there's a way, like an actual understanding of what is God and how to serve God and how to enter the transcendental plane, rather than they're taking something spiritual and bringing it to a mundane level. This is what he's saying in the Vedas. It's recommended that one give donations, charity to like the temple, to sannyasis, to people who are like fully engaged in service. And then they use the money in their service, which is the most like transcendental thing, because they have the proper knowledge and proper conviction. But if we're giving money to poor people in the name of God, it's like poor people are just, what are they going to do? Like here, you give poor people money, they can buy drugs, alcohol, meat. So the point is that you give to the temple, and the temple, here is different in India, but in India, like they cook prasadam for like thousands of people, and no prasadam goes to waste. It's like everybody gets fed. It's like a whole different culture. Here it's like free food and you're like, what'd y'all put in it? You trying to brainwash it? So I think we could stop there, but I'll just finish this purport. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yas juhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kanteya tat kodashvamadarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. Everything actually belongs to Krishna, but so-called civilized men unfortunately think that everything belongs to them. This is the mistake of materialistic civilization. The prostitute had earned money by questionable means, and therefore Haridas Thakur advised her to distribute to the brahmanas whatever she possessed. When Srila Rupa Goswami retired from family life, he distributed 50% of his income to the brahmanas and Vaishnavas. A Brahmana knows what the absolute truth is, and a Vaishnava, knowing the absolute truth, acts on behalf of the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, one earns money by many questionable means. Therefore, at some time, one should retire and distribute whatever one has to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas who engage in devotional service by preaching the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra continuously and render service to the tulasi plant by watering her and offering prayers to her. In this way, you will very soon get the opportunity to be sheltered at the lotus feet of Krishna. Yeah, I'm going to stop here. But just to summarize that, the prostitute was sent there by this guy who was jealous. He's envious of Haridas Thakur to defame him, Oh, he's not overnight. And his spiritual focus, this beautiful young woman who's knocking at the door and taking it out.
you sit down and fulfill all your desires.